so that Brian can watch.
So we're recording.
Great.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to talk marketing today, which I know with the holiday season coming up, it's in everybody's mind. I'm Pam Williams, the founder and lead instructor for Ecole Chocolat. And along with me is Elaine, who is our program and marketing director. And we have some great panelists, which we'll introduce in a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you a kind of quick synopsis of a webinar that I saw last week that some of you may have seen, but everybody I've talked to about it hadn't seen it. So I really want to share some of the talking points that came out of that webinar that I think really apply to our fine chocolate business. So if you'll bear with me for about the first 5 minutes, I'm going to try to give you some of the insights that I found that I think will be helpful for all of us. The webinar was featuring, it was the Specialty Food Association webinar, and it was featuring Greg Sarley from Harry and David. And I know there's probably a few out there kind of shaking your head because you were there as well. What's really interesting for those of you who Harry and David are not on your radar, they have been doing a business solely by mail order, then moving into e-commerce back before any of us here were born. So if anybody has, at least my feeling was, if anybody has a good feel for what the pandemic has done for our business and how to market online and deliver, which a lot of us are going to have to move to for the holiday season. So I wanted to give you just quickly some of the things that Greg said that really resonated with me. First of all, he came up with some stats from McKinsey, 71% of consumers plan to do 50% of their holiday purchases online. Now, in the face of that, 75 of 50 doesn't sound like a lot. But if you think back on your normal Christmas of last year, the year before, or wherever, and think about the purchases you made, I bet most of us would not have been that high. Where this year, they're really predicting that people have embraced online ordering and shipping. So it's something to be aware of. Your customers are going to be more apt to do that, especially if getting in, if you have a retail outlet and getting into that is problematic. The more interesting even, 75% of those consumers were willing to buy from any brand. And what does this mean for us? This means that if you have a customer in your region, and remember gives local results, they always come first. So if you've got a customer in your region who's looking for a box of chocolates, and you're giving them a really compelling picture, bit of content, whatever, and they like what you're doing, even if they don't know who you are, they're willing to come and make a purchase from you. So it's something to keep in mind that we've got these consumers out there now who are more willing to go off their favorite brands. So I think that's a good thing. So those were kind of the stats. Mobile, you've got to make sure that your website looks good, delivers well on a phone. Tablets, yes, but the phone is the biggest part of that market. And also that your order form is easy to use online. It's something I think all of us have to check and make sure that if someone's finding you on their phone and they want to order your product, they can do that easily online. So just a few things, and I've made some notes so I don't forget some of the things. Now, Harry and David are in the food gifting business. We are in the food gifting business. And they really felt that this was food gifting's time when it came to doing gifts. And they felt that people can't give experiences to other people anymore. You can't give them a discount, or not a discount, a certificate to go to their favorite restaurant as a gift or a thank you or whatever. And that experiential giving is much easier for the food industry than it is for other industries, and we should take advantage of that. Things like, you know, having something where they can make a chocolate gingerbread house, that they get those experiences and they're more apt to come back to you if they've had something that their giftee really likes. So keep that in mind. They say thank you and thinking of you. Those kind of sentiments are really trending really high for them. So make sure in your assortment mix that you have some things that make it easy for people to say thank you, especially as we get into Christmas for third responders and for all the people that they want to thank. He had an interesting feeling. They do a lot of corporate business, tons of corporate business. And they said they felt that corporate business would, excuse me, would change not change, there would be an additional market there for workers that are remote. Like, in other words, if your company used to have a Christmas party, they may have one still virtually, but they need to really actually give their people something. So food gifting could be really important for the thank you for remote workers. So something to promote on your website and remind them that their remote workers need a little love at the holiday time. The next thing was, he felt that getting back to introducing your brand to someone new, he felt that the first sale was just an introduction, and that you need to go back to those new customers and make sure they were happy with their purchase, that everything went well, so that you can get them into using you more and more and buying from you. And he said their statistics tell them that they have a 30-day window to thank someone for the gift that they bought to send to someone else, or they bought for themselves, and see if you can get them as now a normal customer rather than a brand new customer. So I thought that was really interesting. When it comes to assortment, Harry and David are doing a little less is more. They're really using that 80-20 rule to figure out that 20% of their assortment that really sells more and more and more. They're honing their assortment down to the best sellers, just trying to make sure that they can deliver. This is going to be the big thing. You know, we can promise our customers everything, but if we can't actually deliver that product at the time when they want it there, it's going to be a big problem. So they're really watching their assortment and really looking at it. They feel there's an opportunity to trade up. In other words, when they show you a product on the page, they'll also show you, after you've clicked on, yes, I want a box of truffles, they'll make sure to show you a $9.99 box of truffles you clicked on, but also a $19.99 with more value, less shipping cost per value, so on and so forth, in hopes that people will go, oh, well, maybe I like those people, I'll get them the $19.90. So they're saying that always have a trade up available when people go to buy. And you'd be surprised how many people feel generous at that point in time. Then he got into pricing, and he feels this year that pricing may not be discounting, may not be the way they want to go a lot. They're not going to kind of put everything on sale. They feel that people, if they've got a good variety of price points, that they'll put a discount, but the discount will be on that trade up or a unit of shipping. You know, if you've bought this amount of money, we'll give you this kind of a shipping discount or some kind of discount. So they weren't really looking at doing a lot of discounting other than to kind of make a trade up or a bigger unit shipping sale. So those are some things to think about. I was talking to one of our graduates, and she mentioned that her chocolate suppliers, her bulk suppliers that supply her with her chocolate, had increased their prices over the fall. So I don't know if anybody else has seen that your chocolate that you're using for your products has become a little more expensive. It would be interesting if we could maybe do a little poll in the question and answer in the chat, just to see if later people have found that there is an increase in price points. Again, we talked about that. Oh, really important, according to him, to manage your units. Like, in other words, if you're sending, this is all with delivery in mind. If you're sending a unit, you want to ship that unit, make what's in that unit as big as possible. So that's where trading up, offering another multiple sale product, they're really looking at how they can do that shipping for units that are more valuable to them. And they do a lot of, if you go and look at their website, they do a lot of baskets with, 20 ingredients in them of different food products. So you have to look at what you do. He gave an example, which was kind of fun, and I kind of have to read this. If you can only produce 1,000 units, you'll make more money and cost the customer less in shipping if the unit is more like $50 rather than just 20 or 30. So it's something to keep in mind, that when you're putting together packages, you want to make sure that they give you some real value and the customer sees the value, because their shipping costs might be less. So it's something just to think about. Then he got into shipping, which is the last point. And really the part in which I went, whoa, I have to share this. He said, you need to balance, especially for those of us who have never gone through a holiday season where we're going to be doing more delivery than we've ever done before. He said, plan your shipping operation to balance between your promotion of your items and what you really can actually produce and deliver. A lot of us from the marketing end especially are like going, oh, we're just going to sell this like crazy. And then all of a sudden at the end, we let the customer down because we're either out of stock or it doesn't get to them in time. So he said it's really important just to know when to pull back on a specific item that you're marketing when you see that your stock's getting low, and so on and so forth. And he said that went back to the honing your assortment. He said, make sure that you're also producing your core programs at the same time, so that if you run out of a holiday themed product, you can quickly move to put a red bow on one of your core products that people love it anyway. There's a big difference between doing your business on delivery rather than having people pick up or come into your retail store. So he really is, wanted everybody to make sure that they're looking at their shipping right now really, really deeply. They like to do flat rate because it's easier to manage. And it looks like value to the customer. If you're saying, you know, it's $15 shipping for everybody in this state or this province or wherever, or across the US, whatever you're doing, people are more likely to buy a little bit more because they know that they're getting that flat rate anyway. So it's something that they think about. Then he came up with my last point. I always hate to leave on a bad note, but anyway, he is really nervous about shipping this holiday season. He said shipping is going to be a mess, mainly because we're going into the busiest gifting and holiday purchasing since the pandemic has started. Shipping companies are scrambling right now. He said it's going to be crazy. And he said you just need to make sure you've got really good relations with your shippers and that you're managing your expectations of your customer, which I'll talk about quickly in a minute. He said things like your stock of cold packs and dry ice, if you're using that in your packaging when you're shipping, you might find that those are going to be hard to find. So they're like stockpiling that because they think that there could be some losses in that. He said, and don't overpromise a delivery date. He said, it's better to not take the sale if you know you cannot make the delivery date that the customer wants. Christmas is Friday, he said, which is good because that gives us all the beginning of the week to really get everything happening. And they're using a lot of, we promise it will arrive before Christmas, but not saying an actual date. So that they're not like saying, okay, it'll be there on the 20th. They're saying it'll be there before Christmas. And they're making sure that when they say that, they know they can deliver. Now they've had 75 years or however long the company's been in business to hone their operations where we have not. So that's my last word on that. So I'll turn it over to Alicia. And again, those were just some things that I felt were really good for us in our discussion today. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Pam. I think that was a lot of really useful information that people will be able to implement for their plans for this year. So I know before we get into our panel and introducing our panel, Bill just wanted to say a couple of words.
Great, thank you, Alicia. And Pam, thank you for that wonderful overview from Harry and David. I learned a lot just hearing some of what they're looking at and some really helpful tips as we look towards the holidays. As you all know, that the theme today is planning for the holidays to maximize your business. And I know Alicia is going to introduce her panel in just a minute. But before we do that, I just wanted to say a couple of words about the Fine Chocolate Industry Association. This is a co-hosted event between Ecole Chocolat and FCIA. And this is really part of the FCIA fall educational webinar series. We have 16 different webinars that have been planned for the fall. And if you want a complete list of those, you can look on our website and see the details and how to register. Just as a sneak peek into next week, we've got a webinar actually tomorrow on B Corporation certification, which may be of interest to some of you in the audience, I hope so. And then next week we have a co-hosted webinar with the National Confectioners Association, as well as 3 other trade associations, PMCA, AACT, and RCI, to talk about some of the regulatory issues that are impacting the chocolate industry. And we'll have that followed by a panel discussion similar to the format today of companies, so you can hear specifically from companies in different parts of the United States on how they're dealing with some of the regulatory issues that are impacting their business. So we hope that you'll be able to join us for that. But the feature today, of course, is our panel that Alicia is going to be moderating. And just a couple of housekeeping tips before we get started. I see a lot of you are already familiar with the chat and are using that feature. if you have specific questions, please list them in the Q&A. That way we can capture those questions and respond to you afterwards. We like a lot of dialogue and exchange, so please feel free to type your questions as we go along. And before I turn it back over to Alicia, just to quickly introduce Effie Maglaris, who is the operations manager at FCIA. If Effie, if you can show your video just for a minute, just so people know who you are. Effie's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make this all happen. I just wanted to show our appreciation of all that she does. So with that, back to you, Alicia. Really looking forward to hearing from the panel.
Great, thank you so much, Bill. So we know it's September and we're on the cusp of our chocolate season, and like everything else this year, it's gonna look a little bit different. And so we wanted to bring together a panel of chocolate business owners to talk about how each of them are planning to navigate some of the challenges that are going to arise, and from their different perspectives, give you all tips and strategies that will hopefully help you maximize your holiday success this season. And so before we kind of dive into the conversation, I just wanted to give each of our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves and just tell everyone a bit about your business and where you are. And I also just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. We're really excited to have you here. So Dahlia, why don't you go first? That's okay.
Sure. So I'm Dahlia, co-founder and CEO of Fruition Chocolate Works. We're based in Shokan, New York, about 2 hours north of Manhattan. We've been making chocolate from bean to bar for almost 9 years, and we also elaborate our chocolate into confections. Should I stop there? Just an intro for now, right?
Yeah, that's good. So if there's anything else you want people to know, that's perfect. Great. Okay, cool. Okay, Romeo, do you want to go next, please? Oh, you're muted. We got to unmute you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
There
My name is Romeo. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So I'm the founder and chocolatier of Romeo Chocolates and Wine Bar. We're based here in downtown Long Beach in Southern California. I've been studying chocolate since 2009, had the pleasure to study with Ecole Chocolat in Europe. And now we're showing that chocolate is our love language here in downtown and trying to pivot and adjust every single day, it feels like. But I'm happy to be on this panel with you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Romeo.
You're welcome.
And Elaine? Oh, we have to unmute you too, Elaine. There you go. Great. Hi.
I'm Elaine Hsieh. I'm one of the co-founders of EHChocolatier. We are based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I too studied with Ecole Chocolat in probably about 2009 as well. And we started our business in 2010, actually as an online and wholesale small batch artisan chocolate maker, and have basically continued with that, and took on a nice little boutique in the last year and a half. Perfect timing for a pandemic, and we too are sort of making our way. I mean, I think we feel very fortunate that our online was already in place, and just trying to sort out how to make our way through the next year or so.
Great. So to give everyone a little bit of a framework of how we're kind of going to spend our time together for the rest of the hour, we wanted to touch a little bit on Halloween and the fall, because that's obviously coming up first, and we know that there's some things to consider there, and then we're going to do a deep dive into the winter holidays. And so talking about Halloween, I know that Halloween may not be a huge source of sales for your business in the past, but we know that it's going to look different this year. I don't know if anyone saw, I think just the other day, that the CDC has released new guidelines that that trick-or-treating is now considered a high-risk activity. So for a lot of people, that's going to be concerning, and they're going to be looking for new ways to celebrate Halloween. And I think it's a great opportunity for our industry to think about teaching people to think about a less is more approach. Maybe, you don't need to buy vats of candy that you would normally have to buy to hand out to the hundreds of children that are going to be knocking on your door. And you can think about how you want to celebrate just with your own family. So I think there's a great opportunity there for chocolate businesses to think about creating some fun Halloween themed products and really helping parents to think about, you know, a different way of celebrating Halloween in your own home. I know I have 3 boys and I'm going to be, you know, trying to figure that out too. So, and so that was one of the reasons why we're really excited to have Elaine join us, because Elaine and Catherine always have a lot of fun with Halloween products. And so Elaine, could you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be creating this year?
Yeah, for us, Halloween, even though it's not one of our biggest holidays, it is definitely one of our most fun holidays to make for. We do sort of a mix, since it's also sort of fall time. You know, typically you'll see an introduction of things like, we're in New England, so this maple syrup and apples are kind of the thing here this time of year. So you'll see things in the beginning leading up to Halloween that would include like a Vermont fudge or Vermont maple leaves filled with Vermont maple ganache. We do a lot of apple cider caramel, super popular with us, as well as our honey caramels. Before Halloween, actually Rosh Hashanah is kind of a big holiday here as well. So we do a mix of that, some pâte de fruits, which include like a green apple and honey pâte de fruits and a pomegranate pâte de fruits. And then when we, beginning of October is where you'll see online as well as on our retail shop, very specific Halloween-based items. We'll typically do marshmallow ghosts. We have these really adorable milk chocolate owls, which we called Wise Guys. They're filled with our own maple pecan butter praline. So those are popular, and they come sort of nestled in like a little nest. That's super charming. Other things that we do is we, like for all of our holidays, we have a selection of bonbons specifically for that holiday, where the flavors are seasonal, plus the toppings are reflective. So, you know, usually they'll be either transfers or something of that nature to kind of capture the holiday, as well as the packaging, which is a big part of our business. Is you know, we do try very hard to package our items, not only so that they can ship well, but also just so that they present beautifully. And the thing we'll probably be doing this year, that we're adding, is probably some similar to the idea of if kids aren't able to go out to trick or treat, offering up not just for family, but families are doing a lot of pods around here. So there's typically like learning pods or family pods or street pods. So, you know, sort of offering something for them in sort of a packaged bag of things that are a little bit more accessible to the kids. The other thing that we do on Halloween, and we'll see what we'll do this year, is we always make up these little, and they're very simple, solid small pieces of chocolate molded for like bats or boo or pumpkins, and they typically go in a little bag, and we hand them out to kids. We've done them in the last few years, and you know, kids will come by and with their outfits, and you know, we drop them into their bag. And so I'm not sure what we'll do about that this year. I hope to do something that would be safe but also fun for them. You know, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. And that's, you know, that's generally sort of what we're doing for the Halloween for this year.
And the witches' hats?
Oh yeah, the witches' hats. Sorry.
Right. I like those.
I'm like, you know, not thinking about it because I have to dip them. Yeah, the witches' hats are, yeah, they're very popular. They're a little challenging to ship, but they're like really great. We have a very nice kind of shortbread cookie base, which then we pipe some vanilla marshmallow on top, like a witch hat, and then we sort of hand dip them. So they're really adorable.
They're really cute.
Yeah, they're really, really cute.
Yeah.
Kids and adults. I mean, both kids and adults like our chocolates. So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Romeo, I know when we were having our pre-conversation, you kind of mentioned that Halloween isn't a big thing, but you guys do something for Dia de los Muertos.
Yes. So for our specific area, Halloween's not normally a big holiday for us. However, in the years past, we usually donate about 200 pieces to the local kids in the apartments and condos nearby. We're in a really dense neighborhood, particularly for a lot of our regulars, just to build community. Because Halloween's not a big holiday for us, we do have a big celebration coming into the last part of October into the beginning part of November called Dia de los Muertos, or All Saints Day. And so there's a big Latino Filipino community here in Southern California. So we usually put gifts together of sugar skulls or calaveras chocolates. And so we've ordered custom chocolate transfer sheets, and we hand paint sugar skulls as well too. The people usually pick that up. And then lastly, for the month of October, even though we don't have a big Halloween celebration, we do have Filipino American History Month or Heritage Month. And so we do inspired flavors from the Filipino diaspora. Some of those include our calamansi mojito truffle. We do a Barako coffee truffle, which is very similar to a Sumatra Indonesian coffee. We do an ube, sweet potato truffle. And then lastly, we do a coconut pandan truffle. So we do things that are relative to the cultural celebrations happening in October and November.
Those all sound delicious.
Thank you.
And Dahlia, do you want to talk a little bit about kind of your fall flavors that you guys like to create? Yeah.
Yeah, so for us, we think about fall as like more in a seasonal way, unless as Halloween the date. Although when we had our little boutique shop in Woodstock, the town of Woodstock, New York has a Halloween tradition of everybody dressing up and parading, and there's always a whole scene in town. And so we used to stay open late on Halloween, and people would come in and we'd give out non-chocolate candy to the trick-or-treaters. But as far as what we're doing this year, we are going to be releasing in mid-October a cinnamon maple bourbon bar that's like a true micro batch, only 1,500 bars. We already pre-sold more than a third of the batch. And so that's one of our exciting flavors. We also are gearing up for our holiday confection collection, which is generally a little bit more toward the Christmas side, but we're going to try to time the launch between so that it'll be good like for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's probably going to come out right before Thanksgiving. And so that's a 9-piece assortment with different flavors, some of them that are fall focused, like we have a cranberry pine, for example. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else. We do orange scented cranberries with dark chocolate. That's another kind of fall seasonal. And this year we have a to-go, like our big COVID pivot, so to speak, is that we turned what used to be our retail tasting room where people could come inside into a to-go window. So so nobody's coming indoors, it's all through the window. So we set up a little bit more of a cafe than we've had in the past. And that gives us the ability to do hot chocolates and mochas and lattes. And I'm sure we'll have some fun fall specials in there for the locals as well.
Yeah, cool. That sounds delicious too. So if we kind of move now more into the winter holiday kind of time frame, and I'd like to first just talk about production planning and how you're all thinking about that this year in terms of things like, are you going to be creating the same volumes, maybe slightly smaller volumes? Are you going to be having the same number of products, maybe some fewer products? And Pam, I think this goes without saying, but you can jump in if there's anything else that you want me to ask. But so yeah, so just starting with production planning, let's just start there. So why don't we just go back down the row? So Elaine, do you want to go start, and then we can go back through the others?
Sure.
Great.
So I think in terms of just the menu or offerings, I don't think we will be limiting what we make or what we offer. Either for the holidays or for our main menu that's around year round. I think people really kind of expect that, and I think I do appreciate the comment of not over-promising. So, you know, we've in the past sort of, since we do a lot of shipping during the holidays, we actually know when to kind of like call no more, you know, like products, and you know, kind of it rolls along as the days sort of progress closer to Christmas. And then in terms of production, you know, honestly, we when this happened in March, I think we were expecting things to kind of grind to a halt, especially since we couldn't get anybody into the store. But people very quickly flipped to online and pickup very quickly. And, you know, they just ordered also a lot more at one time, which, you know, our average order just kind of went up quite a bit. So I think it's hard to predict what the last quarter looks like, but, you know, I think we'll be cautious about how much we do in terms of seasonal items, you know, and make sure that we have plenty of our year-round favorites available. But I don't think we'll actually change the amount that we'll be producing, quite honestly. I think in some ways we may actually choose to produce a bit more. I just get a very strong sense, especially as the holidays come around, that people are just going to be feeling, you know, like they need to send something. You know, like a lot of our gifts that were being given in the spring and through Mother's Day had a lot to do with people missing each other, you know, and thinking of each other and wanting to be like, we're, you know, I miss you, you know, we're thinking about you. And I just think it'll really come to a head during the holidays. I think that that's probably, and people are just tired, I think, at this point of being, you know, so limited in their ability to see friends and loved ones. So we're gonna, you know, probably make a bit more.
I think you're right. I think that makes sense. People are getting tired and tired of missing people. So Romeo, how about you? How are you thinking about your production planning this year?
So I think for our production, it's generally, Alicia, going to be about the same, I hope. I don't know. I think I'm a constant optimist, and I'm just hoping that we have the same level of attention and interest in our chocolates. It's just the modality of how we get it to our customers is going to be a lot different. For production, our truffles generally have a very limited shelf life, so anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. So of course we make it for our regular customers here. A lot of it is trying to figure out a pre-order method. And so we're launching a chocolate club, or a chocolate of the month club, where we're going to get an initial pilot subscriber set, and we're going to send out chocolates to them. And similar to what Elaine's saying, it's the notion of care, the notion of missing someone. How do you send that out? How do you send out that sentiment? So inside each of the care packages, we're putting cards. I think this reads backwards, but it says "Ingat Kalagi." In my language, Tagalog, it doesn't translate directly to English, but it means always take care. And so for my dad, he'll never say "I love you," ever, ever, ever. But he'll cook your favorite meal, he'll help you fix your car, and he'll always say "Ingat Kalagi." And so I think of that expression. And so when we send these chocolates of the month in the subscription, we want to give that notion of care. So the modality as a chocolatier is figure out how do we share that expression to folks when we deliver it. For folks who may not know, our chocolate shop, I know Pam knows because she visited us and she did a surprise, which was great. So she saw that we're also a wine bar and we're also a coffee shop. During the pandemic, we could not have any sort of indoor dining here at our shop. However, we came across the fortunate opportunity to do an outdoor parklet. So at our outdoor parklet with social distance tables, we could still serve chocolates and wine, chocolates and mimosas now, because we do a brunch program, chocolates and coffee. So we have to prepare daily production on pastries. So brownies, cookies, chocolate dipped strawberries, that's on a regular basis. And as people start becoming more comfortable stepping outside for social distancing, we're starting to see an uptick on traffic on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. And so we're just staying as optimists and hoping that business continues for the holiday season.
Great. Amazing. And Dahlia, how about Fruition?
Well, our policy, kind of since our first holiday season, has been if we can make it, we'll sell it, like around Q4 holiday season. Like that's just always the goal, is like max it, make as much as we can possibly make. And if we end up with a little, you know, like we try to set up Best By dates and not to like super date things. Like we never put a belly band, like we've made this mistake earlier, but like now we never write Christmas or winter on anything. Like it's all meant to have, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, like a life, and to work within that life. And so we'll, you know, we might go with a red color, but we're not going to say this is like the Christmas edition, because then on December 26th, if you're stuck with 100, then that's too bad.
Yeah.
So then your friends and family are happy. Yeah, no, but we're ramping up. We were on a growth trajectory before COVID. We like had a significant slowdown. We've been rebuilding our team. Like I think between March and June, we were kind of super reduced, and now we're building up again, and we're actually hiring for production help. So yeah, so we're expecting a busy holiday season. I think that online is going to be strong, and the like kind of to-go window curbside thing. I think that by not opening our store, we've kind of gotten used to like the window just being, I think there are some benefits to having people not come inside. So, you know, we certainly lose, the part that we miss is them being able to taste their way around and really engage with us more. But there are some benefits with the to-go window of people coming up, knowing what they want, generally like spending a little more because they made us dedicate, if it's curbside, they made a dedicated trip. So yeah, we're gonna keep cranking.
So I'm just looking, there's just one question before we get off the kind of production planning. Someone asked, when in the calendar year do you actually sit down and decide holiday production? Obviously knowing that it is late now. When do you guys all do that? Dahlia, do you want to go first since you were just talking?
Sure. So we've been planning the release of the new bar. We're about to put 5 new bars out like very soon, mid-October into mid-November. So we've been planning those for a long time, like most of them more than 6 months. And then we're kind of, once we knew roughly when they were going to be ready, we decided to coordinate the release around the busiest time of year to have like the most successful launch. So that we've been planning really far in advance. Also our holiday confection collection, we change our 9 flavors every year, but we last year decided to come up with a fixed template for the box and the band, and the only thing that will change is the insert. So we're trying to streamline a little bit of the packaging so that we can use something 1 year over the next.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. That's helpful. And so rather than have all of you answer that, I'm just looking at the time, and someone also just asked if anyone's planning to use freezer or refrigeration to kind of stockpile product. I just wanted to give someone a chance to answer that. If anyone wants to jump in on that one.
Yeah, I will. So we do use the freezer for a lot of our confections. Have like parts that have to be made before they're put together, like candied nuts or caramelized cornflakes, or you know, a bunch of different things, which we've tested and for quality using, actually after taking that course with you guys in terms of quality. So we know from experience that quite a few things can keep well in the freezer before we actually need them. So, you know, that's partly, summertime is typically a quieter time for us anyway. It's kind of the time when we have a chance to kind of think a little bit more forward. So, and that's when we sort of will start doing some of this planning of like, what will we make? How will it go in the freezer? And sort of when we'll start sort of like circulating them into our production cycles. So,
right.
So yeah, I mean, I think when we first started, we never would have thought about putting anything in the freezer because we were like always like, you know, fresh is best, and you know, we make to order. I don't disagree with that, but I think in sort of the reality of actually trying to make a sustainable business, it's something that we've come to realize that we actually do need to do. So, so yes, we do use the freezer.
Right. Dahlia, Romeo, do you, either of you, freezer?
Just for a few things similar to Elaine, just certain steps that I can have in advance. Like I'll make my fruit compotes earlier and have those set aside so that way I could pipe them in later. Or if we're doing pastries, we'll make the cookie doughs way in advance. So that way we just bake off a dozen or so first thing in the morning. The things that I find about truffles is that when sometimes you put them into the freezer, you lose that shine or that gloss on the shells. And so I don't put those in the freezer very often. But there's some steps, I think, in production that you can stagger and put into the freezer or the fridge, like compotes or like some certain long shelf life ganaches.
Right.
Yeah, we're starting to experiment with it a little bit more. For example, we have strawberry caramels now, and we're planning to freeze some for Valentine's Day. But in general, yeah, just based on the flow of production and staff and timing and sell through, we haven't done a ton of freezing in the past. It's been mostly sold as it's made, but as we grow, we're looking at certain fillings and centers, as Romeo mentioned, we do plan ahead for.
Right. And I think one thing people are really going to want to talk about is shipping, and sort of, I guess, the e-commerce kind of system and shipping, and sort of how that all works together for you. And if there's things that you've learned since you've had to, I assume, do more shipping during the pandemic, and how you're planning for your holiday shipping. So Dahlia, do you want to take that one first?
Sure. So as most of everybody's been watching, the USPS has been in a bit of upheaval over the past few months. So we did experience quite a few shipping delays with the regular postal service. When we used to rely on priority mail to arrive within the 2 to 3 days expected, and the 2 to 3 days became, 4 to 5+ days, and then that really changed the game as far as being able to send things out priority in warm weather. The way that we addressed it is we renegotiated rates with both UPS and FedEx and kind of played them against each other, trying to get the best rates. Right now we're using all 3 services, which is a lot of work on the logistics side, but it does give us the best options in terms of certain things just make more sense with a certain carrier, depending on how far it is, how big the packages are your rates optimized for small boxes or for optimized for 2-day or whatnot. So I think we're still figuring it out. It's like one of those things that as orders come in and we try things, this is working, this isn't, we adjust, and the person who does the shipping gets to know, like, by looking at it, like, okay, these orders going like right in the Northeast, that's going to make most sense, UPS ground, and this one's going to be best FedEx, etc.
Right. And Romeo, how about you? Shipping.
Similar to Dahlia, we're still kind of trying to figure it out. So we've had some success with shipping, and other times my truffles came to our guests as chocolate sauce. And so still trying to figure out a tried and true method. We've been doing 2-day shipping through UPS. We find that the rates get very expensive, particularly for shipping from California to New York or to Florida. But not just in terms of the cost, the packaging of the insulation and everything else gets very expensive as well too. So if you're looking at dry ice, or if you're looking at cold packs, if you're looking at insulated envelopes or styrofoam boxes, all those have a cost that we have to factor in either the cost of the product or being just hyper transparent with the customer, how much it's going to cost for shipping. So it's been a little bit challenging. What has been helping us is trying to figure out local delivery options. And so for us, and particularly for some other states too, you might have Grubhub or you might have Postmates, is being able to use those options to not just ship some desserts, but maybe your truffles, your gift boxes can be on there as well. And be very adamant in negotiating your rate with Postmates and Grubhub. They know that they're taking somewhat of advantage of small businesses. So this is an opportunity to really hold them to task and make sure that they're not exploiting their rate. For instance, Grubhub, they cut my rate in half because I canceled my service. I said, we can't afford this. So they cut my rate in half so that way we could use their service. And then lastly, support micro enterprise, support other small businesses who do delivery. We have a local company. He actually was one of my staff members, and then he launched a delivery company called Alley Cat Deliveries. And so he'll throw all the chocolates in his car and deliver within 4 miles radius of my shop, and we give him a flat rate. So there might be some micro enterprises in your area that you might be able to support. But we're still figuring out as well on shipping, and I'm open to ideas if other folks have success on that. The last thing I want to say is maybe compare like industries. So look at ice cream companies, how they've been shipping during the pandemic. Look at wine clubs, how have they been shipping, during the pandemic as well? And then draw parallels with fine chocolate to see how we could use similar methods.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Those are all great suggestions. And Elaine, can you tell us a little bit about your shipping strategy?
Yes. We're buying a lot of boxes. Well, so everything that Dahlia and Romeo has said, I totally agree with. We, we have a very small space, so it's really hard to stockpile things. But I can get a sense from the folks that we get our warm weather packaging from that they are starting to run into some inventory issues. It's taking longer for things to get to us, partly because of the shipping time, but also because of, what they have available. So this will probably be the first year we do this, but we will probably we'll probably just purchase a large quantity of shipping materials. So, we'll boxes and ice and insulation. Come December time, there's fewer places, but during the summer, everything goes on ice. We actually we use USPS priority, which had always worked very well for us until the last couple of months. Then it was, extended by a few days. I would say that the warm weather packaging that we choose to use, we had it tested in a lab, and have tested it, ourselves by shipping it cross country to friends and things like that. So we have a sense of how well it will perform over a certain amount of time. So that's reassuring to us. I do actually think that comment about not over-promising delivery dates is really something that we'll have to just keep in mind. I mean, we usually do a cutoff date of 7 days before before any holidays. We'll say, this is the last chance that you can order. That gives us enough time to make it and get it in the mail. But we'll have to, I think, push those dates back a bit, which is sort of a weird thing to tell people that they can't order. They can order, but they have to order like 10 days before the holiday,
Right.
And, a lot of people are last minute purchasers, and we're always happy to try to get it out with UPS or FedEx. I find that people are completely flabbergasted by the cost. I think they have no clue whatsoever. And, it's the one thing we do from a business standpoint. We're very transparent about the cost. We pass on all the shipping costs directly to the customer. We don't fold it into the cost of our chocolates. And come summertime, everybody who's like on our email list just knows that there's an additional X number of dollars that gets added on to shipping just because it covers our ice. And, and some people aren't happy, and that will happen. But I feel like I don't make any money for packaging it. The amount of time and energy that goes into shipping and handling and all that, I don't charge for that really. So I'm just asking them to pay for the shipping costs and the winter warm weather sort of protection stuff. So yeah, and we just help folks after a certain date. They know that if they order after a certain date, maybe they'll get it before the holiday, maybe they won't. Some people will not read the fine print. Literally, I can't even tell you how many places I put like
the bold print.
It's like, did you read your order confirmation? Did you read the thing before you checked out? And inevitably someone will be like, I didn't read that. You don't have that. And you just run into folks who just are not readers.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Much I can do about that. I mean, we always feel a little bad because they're so pissed off at us, but at this point we're doing it for 10 years and we're like, it happens. We can.
I have a few more shipping tidbits after hearing those thoughts. So one is that quite a few years ago, we decided to charge shipping and handling fees on our wholesale orders. So we do an additional $3. We do a $2 handling fee per outer shipping box and a $3 per warm weather per outer box that's shipping for ice and insulation. I know some people's warm weather fees are more and some don't do it at all, but just charging that little amount, we've gotten very little pushback. And so in general, we do on wholesale, we do charge shipping, and then occasionally we run specials or sales. And then on the website, we've played with free shipping over certain price thresholds. I did an e-blast a couple of weeks ago that was highly successful. That was free shipping over $40, but it was only a 48-hour window to place the order. And so I think if you put pressure on people, and I knew that for $40, like some places, you know, you might end up getting like a few orders where the shipping is going to end up being like 50% off. But in most cases, they're getting like a 10 to 20% off or 25% off, and it's just for that tight window. So, so we play around with specials like that. And we've done free shipping over 75 in the past. I did free shipping entirely for a short time around COVID. So I think a lot of it for us has been trial and error and just kind of like watching what happens when we change it. And then as far as like stocking up on ice and insulation, we use insulated bubble wrap and we seal the seams with tape. It's quite labor intensive, but after looking at the prices of those like pre-made box liners, it's just like price wise, there's no comparison. We haven't been able to find a liner that's anything near comparable to just like cutting and doing it yourself.
Right.
You know, our cost to line a box with insulated bubble wrap is, for most orders, like 40 to 50 cents, and most of those liners are like $5 minimum.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so those are just a few things. We ordered a used shipping container. Some of you are in cities and it's harder to come by space, but where we are, we were able to put a shipping container behind our building and stock up on boxes and things like that, more so.
Someone asked whether you guys feel that shipping is going to be essential to your holiday success or whether you can rely on delivery and pickup.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would say probably the majority of my business will be shipping.
Yeah.
I think partly it's because we grew up as an online business. So I think a lot of our business across the country, that kind of continues. So, so I think even people locally want it shipped. A lot of people don't want to come to do pickup at the shop. So although there will be some pickup, I think for us, the shipping will be the majority of our revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Same
think
with us. I feel like shipping is going to be a big push this holiday season as well. I think a good number of people may still not feel comfortable going to our brick and mortar shop. And so we have to meet our customers where they're at and their comfort level. So I think shipping is going to be pretty big for us. The difficult part is that just like business isn't normal for our industry as well, it's not business as usual for our shipping companies as well too. So some of them may not take signatures, some of them may leave it at the patio. And so there's a lot of adjustments that we need to figure out and make as we go towards shipping. But I think it's going to be a big push for us as well.
Well, and I think that the Halloween season and kind of the fall season will hopefully give everybody a little chance to kind of get a taste of what's coming, hopefully. I think getting back to your 48-hour, Dahlia, thing, I think creating a sense of urgency, that's one of the things that Greg kept saying, create a sense of urgency with your customers starting now, letting them know that everything will be, they want to do some planning.
Yeah, I've seen people that are doing pre-sales for their advent calendars already, which is a great way. It's a cash influx for you, and they have a sense of it's easier to plan. And yeah, I think that's a great tip.
Alicia, this is Bill. jumping in, and we're just on the hour. I was wondering if you want to do a wrap up of your panelists and any final words before we close.
So I know that there are some questions in the chat that we weren't able to get to, and I'm sorry about that. I think we need 2 hours with this panel because they are so smart and have so many great insights to share. So I know that Effie was saying that she can send the questions to us and we can try to get them answered for you offline. But I just wanted to say, does anyone have any kind of final advice or tips that they want to share just quickly before we sign off? Romeo, are you unmuting? No, we're good. Holidays, we're ready.
I don't know. Yeah.
I do have some words of advice.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. I think during this time, particularly because we weren't sure what was going to happen after March 13th, pandemic, after the March 31st social uprising, there were times when I was just here by myself making chocolates and trying to figure out, okay, I hope this still makes sense. So my recommendation to folks as things get pretty intense during the holidays and this uncertain time is connect back to why you started going into fine chocolates to begin with. Like connect back to your core, connect back to your passion, connect back to your creative energies, because I think that's what's going to get you through this time, because there should be something cathartic when you make chocolates. There should be something still hopefully meditative when you make chocolates. And that's why we went into this industry. And remember why you fell in love with being a chocolatier, because that's what's going to get you through when you have very difficult seasons, I think. And that's what's going to give you some degree of optimism and hope that we're going to figure this out together. So that's what's been helpful for me. And so just connect back to your root passions, and I think everything's going to fall into place.
Great. That's great advice. Dahlia, did you want to say something quickly?
Sure. Hard to compete with that, but
you don't feel pressure. You just looked like you were going to say something, so I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess my advice would be resourceful. If you're struggling, like really think about strategizing, like what your best channels are, and hone in on your focus. Like for us, we had to make some shifts. We closed one store, but we're able to focus on other things. And it's an interesting time. So you have to be kind of like quick on your feet, make some decisions, and then really stay focused on them and stay positive, for sure. And also reaching out to the people who you buy supplies and ingredients from, and if you're struggling, talk to them about it, because I think that there is a real sense of wanting to help small businesses and wanting businesses to survive this. And I know some of us, I mean, it seems like all of us here on the panel have more experience, but if you're newer to the industry and you don't have as solid of a foundation, this could really shake you further. And so I think definitely if you're struggling, reach out, because there are people who want to see you make it through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also would just say really quickly, it's a great time to continue to have that relationship with your customers through your email marketing and your social media. And I know that it gets harder as you get busier into production, but just continuing to post and to send them newsletters about what you're doing to keep them engaged with you, so that when you have something new to say, they're right there and they want to support you. And to Dahlia's point, they are looking to support you. So if you are making sure that they know what's going on with you, what you have, the great things you have available, that's really going to help as you lead into this really busy time of year for you.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of the panelists and to our friends at Ecole Chocolat. It was such a great session. And as Alicia, as you mentioned, we will send an email out to all of the attendees with the recording for this session, and we'll follow up with the Q&A too.
Great.
So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.